I've just gone through and taken off some decorative pieces here. A couple of 2-inch slabs. On the bottom, it's got some nice live edge on it. Down here, on the bottom here, on the top, you can see the live edge. And then I've cut a couple of these. I wasted a little bit of material, but I thought they might be good for dressing up or making some shelving brackets or bench brackets or something with a couple of nice big knots there on the end. A little bit of worm or ant or some type of insect that had eaten away here. So a little bit of waste of material as far as boards are concerned, but nice live edge stuff for some furniture or shelving in the bathroom and sauna. Not quite sure, but I've cut these at 2 inches thick, and then these are 4 inches wide, so you can always go cut those down a little bit more if we want just a 2-inch dressing, but we'll leave them like that for now for down. The wind's blowing right in my face today, so it's tough going. This is a real good idea. Should give you a really good idea of what's going on here. So I'm about to rotate this log. There's a whole lot of stress down here. Excuse me. Wind's blowing right in my face. Wow. There's a whole lot of stress down here. This log is pretty aged. I don't think it's much of a concern, but I'm going to flip it over right now just to cut as many boards as I can up here before I get to this rotten center. I can probably still get 1 or 2 on the top, you know, and even if it's rotten in only a few feet, still got, you know, 6 feet of board there. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate those and then make a few more cuts. We're getting 1-inch boards out of these right now. And I've got these anchors here, drags holding it in. It's not going to go anywhere at this point. I'll kick those down out of the way. We have one person sawing. I like to stack them up on the side. I really only have to handle at one time. So I need to go here's my career. Move. Touch the water. Move the board. As I'm going, while I'm cutting, I'm looking at the sawdust, so you can see this white part here, and then this last part, you notice how it's getting darker and darker and darker. That's generally a sign, and you can kind of see a little bit of longer stuff, and that's some big chips. Generally a sign of rot on the inside, so we're looking at the present and have a look. Not good. So you can see down here, it's starting to get a little bit soft. Okay, it's pretty hard actually here. And here, very soft. Different fingers holding me. Here, very soft. Different fingers holding me. So I put on this one, and we got about 4 or 5 feet of good material on that board. You can see the ants popping out of there. Generally, buds don't like cedar, but for some reason, when they haul out, there's no oil left in the wood or whatever it is. Get in. So let's let these boards aside. I'm going to cut this down because I think there's one more board on the bottom side that's going to be good. and then we go from there. I made a couple more cuts on that board, and you can see the last one we've done. Still got a lot of good material out of it. I'm going to check the water up here. We'll shut down the engine. So many times when you see a cedar tree that's got a hole, you know, a lot of times they'll be discarded or thrown on the pile for chipping or something. As long as the ants aren't in it, we can get good material out of it. We got quite a few 4-inch boards out of that. A few here that need to be trimmed down. These were the first few cuts that we made. These two here with the live edge on them yet. And then of course we got some of this 2-inch material out of here with the live edges right in here, and some other material for benches or table edges or what have you. So all good stuff. And then these were the main 2 slabs, and this stuff is used or I may use for like bench material. So this could be a leg section here, the bench, and another leg section over here. Maybe put something like this in the middle to stabilize it. So always thinking of creative ideas. The challenge is stacking this stuff so it'll dry. Now fortunately these logs have been laying on the pile for maybe I don't know, 3 to 5 years, and so they are very dry already. You can see me handling those large logs without too much effort. And that's just because they've been, well, first they were cut in the winter time. Secondly, they've been sitting for a number of years. So all good stuff. I'm going to chop this one off here, and then we're going to get set up for cutting all the edging material and seeing what we can get out of all of these tailings that we had from this pile of logs. I've already cut some, but I generally never allow this much weight on the mill, but these are all cedar. They're quite light, and after this cutting I need to re-level the whole mill just because it's been beaten up a little bit, and the cedar is very forgiving. Next we're going to cut this white ash that has been drying already. I normally like to cut this when it's green, but it was stacked up back of the pile. So you can see it's already been drying quite a lot. You can see by the cracks there, but we'll see what we can get out of it. But before that, we got a big job of cutting all of these edgings off right here. So I'm going to get these kind of separated out. We'll get the mill set up, and then I'll show you that process. And I'm going to waste a lot of material here, mainly because we're looking for 4-inch paneling. So what I'll do is I'll end up, hopefully end up with our final product being 4-inch boards, and whatever might be left I can cut in 1-inch pieces for stickers. So I'm going to chop out now, I'll get this set up, and then we'll come back to you. So right now I'm going to start working on cutting all of the edgings and getting these boards squared up. So you can see that they have live edge on both sides for some of them. Some of the boards have 1 squared edge and 1 live edge. Some of the boards, let's see if we can find one, have 2 squared edges here and here. Okay, so some sawyers will leave that board just like that, and they'll use it, which is totally fine. If you are finishing all your boards yourself and doing projects, that makes no matter, except for the fact that if you were to take it into a mill, like we did the 2x4s and 2x6s to get them planed out, you get charged an extra setup fee for every different width you had. So this appears to be about a 6-inch board right here, and if we measure it, it's very close to a 6-inch board, but it's not. It's 5.5. Okay, and this one here is about 5.5 as well. Okay, so I only keep boards that are 4, 5, and 6-inch widths for paneling. So the paneling that we're really going for here is the 4-inch stuff. That's going to be a single beaded tongue and groove paneling. The 6-inch material that we've got in this row over here, this pile, that's going to be either V-groove tongue and groove, or it'll be a double beaded beadboard tongue and groove paneling. And then the 5-inch would be a a single V tongue and groove paneling, the one that the cooler is sitting on there. So we're making these all nominal widths, meaning they're going to be 1 inch thick on all of these. There may be a couple 2-inch in there. There's a 2-inch here that will need to be cut down to a 2x4 or so. And it'll all be usable material for, mainly this is going to be used for paneling. So my process here changes a little bit each time, but with this many boards, my first step is to go ahead and separate, you know, according to approximate widths being similar, and then also the boards that have at least one single finished edge. So we'll do the live edge ones on their own, and then we'll do the single edge finished ones separately from those. So that's my goal right now. It's going to take a little while to get these organized because I've got a huge pile here. I'm not going to do it all at once, but I'll get enough so that I stack them up here on the mill. I've got the arms up, and I'll come over here, say, you know, 8, 10, 12 boards wide, and you'll see how I do this. We'll set all these up and make one cut to take care of them all at once. So here we go. A little bit of time here. So just so you have an idea of what's happening here, I've kind of started to separate out into 3 different piles. This is all going to be stuff that has 2 finished edges on it already, and the reason I set that aside is I'll get it close, and then if I can rip 1-inch strips for stickers, which is what we put between the boards for drying. These here have 1 good finished edge, and then the other edge is a live edge, most of them. And then this pile over here has got a double live edge on it. Live edge here, live edge here. We'll have to square up both those. So what I'll do next is I will go through and I will separate according to width. So like, for example, this one here will probably make a 6-inch board, while this one here would only make a 4-inch board. This one might make a 5-inch board. I'm going to work on getting mostly 4-inch, but I hate to waste a lot of material. If I can't get a sticker out of it, then I'll go ahead and cut it for a 6-inch board and put it on the 6-inch pile. That way I'm not wasting a lot of material. And we'll still get a lot of 4-inch out of this, which is what we're mainly after right now. But if we don't, there'll be no more in the next round. So now I just kind of try to separate these out as far as widths are concerned. I'll probably end up putting another stack right back over here where they came from. I'll get that nice and firmed up so they don't fall over, and that way I can just put them back on the mill. So next step is separate them out, and then we'll get them stacked up ready for a resaw or edging. And we don't have any fancy edging machines, so we're old school. Takes a little more time, but that's how it goes. should also mention that normally all of this would be done as we're cutting, especially for any heavier material that was ash or oak. We would normally separate these out right here on the back of the mill because we'd never get a stack this tall. We're trying to make time here. We're kind of under pressure. We got to get this done before we head back to Alaska, and we've got a lot more material to cut. We've got all this ash back here. We've got a lot of cherry in the back, some white pine over here, some spruce and balsam, some more red cedar over there. So got a lot of work to do. I'm just trying to be as efficient as possible. So what I've done is I've put anything that might make a 6-inch board or larger over here, and anything that's going to make a 4-inch board will be here. And then I'm going to now stack these up, starting on the far side by the arms with the smaller, narrower boards, and then putting the widest boards out to the edge here. That way when I cut, I can just go ahead and take, say, the 8-inch boards off, put them on a pile, make a few more cuts, take the 6-inch boards, put them on the pile, 5-inch boards, put them on the pile, and then the last boards will only be 4-inch, put them on the pile. Okay, so I've now got my widest boards on the outside, narrowest ones on the inside. These we'll take as we can get, if we can get 8 inches or 6 inches or 5 inches, and then finally we'll get down to 4 at the bottom. That'll be the last cut. So it's kind of important to get these pretty well squared up, which they're not at the moment. And this might take a little bit of forcing. Alright, so I've got these all locked in now. I'm going to take a measurement. So this is 8 1/4. I can get an 8-inch board out of that. I'll go ahead and set the saw for 8 inches and make a cut. And then the next, we can get 6-inch boards out. So I'll make an 8-inch cut. And it looks like I'm not gonna waste anything. And then I'll take it right down to 6. So not gonna get any stickers out of this bunch, but that's okay. I'd rather have boards than stickers anyway. So you can see I only took off about a 1/4 inch of that one there. This is an 8-inch board. I'll pull this out now, set it aside. And then my next cut would be down at 6 inches. I'll pull any boards that are 6-inch width out, set those aside, and then I'll work my way down to 5 and 4. That cut was taking down to 6 inches. I'm going to make another cut now at 5 inches. Get rid of all these boards that'll make 5-inch material. And then lastly, I'll make a 4-inch cut. Just take a minute to clean off the rails. but they're all the same thickness. I flipped a couple over. These are all going to make 4-inch beams. So that's my process for edging all the material and getting it to nominal width. And so you can see how you can make a lot of lumber in a short period of time. But I like to get everything nice and clean. So now I got some 6-inch boards out of that. I got some 5-inch boards, and now these 4-inch boards. And then the last thing I'll show you is I'm always trying to keep things as efficient as possible. So I took a moment earlier, moved these large slabs off to one side so that all of this small material that comes off the edging will be in one place. This stuff is kind of difficult to cut for kindling, and this we're going to use for siding material if we can. If not, we'll go for kindling. So I'll just keep that separated at the moment. So I'll go through and stack up all these 4-inch now, and I'll repeat that same process. I'll knock down that stack there first because they're already sorted, and then I can use that space and resort again, or I could go through and take care of these live edge ones and do that next, which is probably the route I'll take. I'll probably go ahead and do that, but to start, I'm going to knock these out next. I drop them on the deck like that just to knock off the sawdust, especially when I put the water on. A lot of that sawdust will stick to the boards, and then it's a little bit more difficult for it to dry, so I just knock it off, and then when I stack them, the wind can blow through and take off whatever is extra. Just a detail thing. Again, now I'm separating my widest boards on the outside, medium in the middle, and then our shortest boards on the inside here. Alright, so I've just made a cut, got some 8-inch boards out of that. So now you can see I've got, these are at 8 inches, right? So I don't have any 7-inch material stacked up here. So rather than cut 7-inch, what I'm going to do is cut it at 7 1/8. And then I'll make another cut at 6. That way I could use those 1-inch by 1-inch pieces for stickers for stacking material for drying. So again, it's just an efficiency thing. And might get a few out of here, not very many, but we're going to give it a go. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but when I get to the end, I go very slowly. And the reason for that is, you get some of these small pieces like this, and they're kind of a wedge shape. When they fly off on the blade, it catches under the blade, and sometimes it'll twist and go underneath there. I mean, very rarely, but I've had it go on the blade and bend the blade or even break the blade before. And other times they'll get jammed underneath the rollers if you miss them on return, and then it wedges in there and kind of slows things down. So I always be careful to go slowly at the end. Sometimes I'll put my hand there and just hold those little scrap pieces back so they don't cause any issues. Now anything that's got 4 good sides on it, or fairly good sides, I set up a separate file, and we'll use that for stickers later on. We'll cut the board one time.